it's just different, man. You got you have people from all over the world looking to be there, looking to invest in there.
Yeah, be there and invest too. That's a good point. A lot of investment money is. You think we're the only ones thinking this?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Yeah. Not just, I'm talking global money too.
Yes. Okay, on this podcast, we are going to be talking about our Bayview Palms, North Miami Beach property in specific, because what we did in order to acquire that property was probably advantageous for people to learn and understand.
Yeah. Like there's two parts of analysis of any deal. There's some objective analysis, which is hard statistics you can find sometimes online or whatever. Population growth, business growth, stuff like that.
Job growth.
Yeah, exactly. And then some other more subjective anecdotal evidence is needed as well. And sometimes I think that's actually more important than the objective, because I think objective data lags reality and it's always rear looking. So getting the boots on the ground feel for cities and talking to people that are local is invaluable. And I think that's what separates an average investor from a good investor, is the ability to see things before they happen. So, I guess if we had to start out, right, like we started out saying, hey, the returns in the U.S. are higher, right? So we started with a broad kind of spectrum of the U.S. as a whole. And then we kind of identified some specific trends that were happening in the U.S. And this was kind of at the time when lockdowns were happening and certain states were doing certain things and locking down their citizens. And it seemed at the time that a few states were remaining open and really pushing a more pro-business mentality. And we're not here to debate that, right? I'm not sitting here saying one's better than the other, one's right or one's wrong.
So there's arguably benefits to... There's actually benefits to states that will lock down citizens with regards to real estate, and we've actually seen it here in Canada. But there are other advantages on the opposite side of the coin, where, say for example, Florida as a state, when they stayed open, produced a lot of advantages, and that's what we hedged on for this particular deal.
For sure, yeah. I mean, some of the advantages, like just strictly economic, of course. When you lock down, you can't build anything.
Yeah.
And you cause inflation, you cause building costs to rise, you delay projects, all of a sudden you limit supply, right? So from a pure investor's perspective, well, if the supply is going to be limited, then I can go buy assets that are probably going to appreciate more. But the specific thing that we saw in states like Florida, not just Florida, some other states as well, but because they were remaining open, it was attracting a lot of people that wanted to maintain their freedom, that were tired of lockdowns, that were wanting to move their business, for instance, from a lockdown state where they couldn't even operate. Keep in mind, a lot of businesses got shut down, even here locally, restaurants and all these other things. And they said, screw this, I'm out. So we started to see that trend, and
not even like small businesses, like massive Silicon Valley businesses, massive national corporate head offices, like you name it. A lot of these big juggernaut companies were moving to Florida as well.
Yeah, it's a great point, because one of the things, the COVID changed people's mentality of this old belief system that I need to stay in this state. I need to work from this office. My head office is here, so I need to work in New York or whatever the case is, or Toronto. But COVID got people thinking, I actually don't really need to be here. With the internet and all these other things, I can either work remotely or I can pick up my business and move. It just freed people's minds to think outside the box a little bit. And I'm talking, this is in the hundreds of thousands of millions, because it freed my mind. We're seeing it play out here in Ontario with people moving from all over the country to a place like Windsor because of the prices and all these other things and access to Detroit. So it's not just a hard data thing. It's also like I said, a freeing of people's minds and getting people thinking like, hey, I don't need to live in a state where it's winter 6 months a year. I can go get summer, 11 months out of the year, access to the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. It's got people thinking outside the box, and not just people from the US, people from around the world. A state like Florida has become a hub. It has become a global hub for people that are looking to get out of lockdown Italy, lockdown Australia. Where are they going to go? Where are you going to go? Right? You're going to look for a safe haven. So again, we're not debating if this is right politically or not. What we're saying is this is what's happening in the state of Florida. It really got our attention. So, what do we do, right? You found the deal.
So,
we were looking, a lot.
Yeah. So, obviously from the get-go, the way that I approach real estate in the US is a little bit different than how I would approach it in my local market here. And the reason for that is because when I find property, or really, I don't really necessarily find property here locally. What I do is I like to kind of go and look at specific little pockets of what I actually like and understand those little pockets and the markets and all that stuff. Because even in Windsor, Windsor as a whole has a lot of different submarkets. So, over the years, I've learned to understand the little submarkets here in Windsor, where I want to be, where I don't want to be, what I think is going to pop off, where I don't think is going to pop off. The States for me is a little bit different. It doesn't really matter for me if it's in Michigan, Florida, California, Seattle, Washington. Like, it doesn't matter. Idaho, like it's pretty irrelevant what state, because I don't have the connections in those particulars in one particular state over and above another. So I look at the United States as one market for me. And then I start zeroing down, okay, well, where would I want to be in the United States? Where do I find the most attractive deals in terms of cap rates, cash flows, things like that? Then I start drilling down, okay, well, if this is where I want to be, what does a submarket look like? Are there fundamental driving factors in that particular submarket? What's the population growth in the submarket? What's the job growth in that particular market? What's the absorption rate of that particular market versus the I can't remember exactly what the other term is. What's the other term for the
supply coming online?
Yeah, I can't remember. There's a specific
Yeah.
term for that. I don't remember exactly what it is. But the absorption rate versus the whatever that term is of property coming online. Usually that's a big indicator. So when you have, I actually, that's an indicator that I really like. For example, which a lot of people probably won't actually understand or have,
because the data is not available in Canada.
Exactly, it's not available here. It's available over there. And absorption rate over a 12-month period is how many people are renting out available units versus units coming online. And I like to see absorption higher than the units coming online.
It's an indicator of potentially overbuilding.
Exactly. Yeah. And then rental increases, like how much is the annual rent growth? That can lag behind, but absorption, I find, is a trend that will continue.
It's a good point.
Right?
Because they're predicting, okay, we have this many permits, this many units are coming online
and it takes time to build. So it's something that's not going to be all of a sudden like rate shocked. You're not going to have a shock, right? You're not going to have like some kind of like, you're not going to have like a major layoff all of a sudden at a big corporate plant or something like that. Then all of a sudden the rental income is going to drop or the rent growth is going to drop. No, absorption is going to continue to.
Yeah, it's a leading indicator.
Exactly. It's a leading indicator. So those are certain things that I use to actually, underwrite this deal. A couple other things that we did was news articles, right? Where's the trending news coming from? A lot of the trending news was coming from, hey, this company, Oracle's going to Miami. Hey, this company's going to Miami. Microsoft's going to Miami. All these other companies are going to Miami. Not necessarily North Miami Beach, but Miami. And the reason why I liked North Miami Beach in this particular property, even though these juggernaut companies weren't going necessarily into that particular submarket, was because that submarket is only 20 minutes away. And it's way more affordable than the Miami-Dade County, not Miami-Dade County, but Miami, the Miami city, right? Like the city of Miami. It's much more affordable. And 20-minute commute is nothing.
Yeah. Well, we see, look in Toronto. How many people
100%.
Actually live in Toronto, right? Look at all the submarkets of Toronto have exploded
people that
in
commute
value.
every day, an hour to hour and a half there and back.
Yeah. So 20 minutes is
20 minutes is nothing.
So exactly, a rising tide lifts all boats. As these tech companies move to Miami, it's going to put pressure on that market, and they're going to have no choice but to expand out.
And
it's inevitable.
Exactly. And the reason why I do like this particular submarket where we committed for that, where we bought that particular package or portfolio of condos. The reason why I like that is because, like what you said, a rising tide lifts all boats, and it has a lot of fundamental amenities in that specific area that are really telling a good story. It's walking distance to Whole Foods. It's walking distance to Starbucks. It's walking distance to LA Fitness, Home Depot. What people don't understand, like what people should understand, is that Starbucks, Whole Foods, LA Fitness, when you start having like these kind of a little bit more upscale retailers come into a submarket, they've done millions of dollars of research. They already know what's going on in that submarket. That alone will tell you a story about what's going in and what's going on in that submarket.
Yeah, they've done 90% of the work for you.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Big time.
If Starbucks likes the area, they're probably smarter than me.
100%. Yeah. So Whole Foods, like people, there's a specific demographic that's going to be shopping in Whole Foods. And what we ended up doing was we ended up getting a B class, what I consider, we didn't get a banger of a deal. We got a great deal. But it wasn't like we didn't steal the portfolio. But I truly feel that eventually this portfolio and the entire submarket, because what's crazy too is what another thing that I wanted to look into. Well, how old is a Whole Foods? How old is a Starbucks? How old is a LA Fitness? And it was just those things were just put in there the last couple of years.
There you go.
So the submarket's telling a story to those retailers that they understand, and they know that submarket is gentrifying. They understand that. So, obviously we're going to understand that, and we see that.
And this may have been even pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, which has accelerated what was already happening.
Exactly.
Another big thing too is just the government, right? Like who's it? The governor of Miami, Suarez,
or the mayor.
The mayor. Sorry, yes, sorry. The mayor. The guy's putting up billboards saying, "Send me a text message if you want to move your company to Florida."
In other states.
In other
cities.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's wild.
A mayor that is a businessman first before a politician. That's rare.
Yeah.
So you have a businessman mayor. They have no state taxes. What would you do if you had the opportunity to move your business? Like I'd be gone. I'd be.
I mean, certain businesses need to be, in certain states, or sometimes businesses are super, super.
What if you were just starting though, right? Like So, anyways, it's not going to move everybody, but it's going to get people.
Yeah,
it's going to get
which
people
is what
thinking.
we're seeing. What were those numbers that you talked about earlier? What were those numbers?
So it was between 2020 and 2021, 550,000 people migrated to Florida. Think about that.
That's migration. That's national migration. That's not like immigrants coming overseas or whatever.
Yeah, that probably doesn't include any of those as well, which is accelerating.
Or like, from any other kind of Latin American countries or whatever. That doesn't include those.
Yeah, 550,000 people. So Florida's a big state. Let's not get it twisted. It's a 22 million population plus or minus. Yeah. But you got to think, Canada's population is 36 million approximately. We have 400,000 immigrants coming in to the whole country.
Yeah.
So you have 550,000 people is a 2.5% increase in population. That's a big increase because to build 2.5% more supply in an environment that is hampered by COVID, where supplies are limited globally, not just in Canada, that's going to be hard to do. That's a lot of units that need to come online. And this is just starting out, in my opinion, right? This trend is only a year or two deep. This could be a 5 or 10 year trend, because I don't think the federal government is slowing down in the U.S. their policies on lockdowns and everything else. And you have states
getting
like
stronger.
They're getting,
Well,
pretty
from
much.
what we just seen even in the last 24 hours, they're getting way stronger.
Yeah, they're clamping down even harder. Yeah. So it's going to accelerate it even more. And again, not just in the U.S., guys. This is global. Florida is a very global city. I think 30% of the population or something wasn't born in the U.S.
Yeah.
The population of Florida. And anecdotally, when we were we've visited Florida 3 times now in the past few months.
Yeah, let's talk about what we did when we were down there.
So one thing that we noticed is a ton of people, just like I just said, are not like we met people from Germany, people that were born in Russia, people from Australia, people from all over the world were in Florida, either as a second home, vacation home, or they moved there, they moved their businesses there to live.
Especially New York, New Jersey, California.
Oh man, so many people.
I don't even know if we talked to anybody that wasn't from there either.
Seriously,
or the majority of people that weren't from there.
Yeah, Chicago.
Like Chicago, any Americans. It seemed like we didn't even talk to anybody that actually was from Florida.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. It's a huge hub.
Yeah.
Globally, not just for the U.S. And I think that's super important, because I think that's going to get it's going to become more of a hub than it already is, which it's already a major hub. So that was huge. We heard the same story over and over again, which was we're tired of the lockdowns. Remember that couple we talked to in the restaurant from Chicago?
Yeah.
We're tired of the lockdowns. We moved our whole family here. We work from home now.
Yeah.
We're tired of Chicago's mayor. We're tired of the crime. We're tired of this. We saw what was happening in Florida. We like Governor DeSantis. We like the anti-lockdown. We don't want our kids wearing masks in school.
Yeah.
We're tired of it. We're leaving. And that was just one.
They want their freedom back.
Yes. That was like, we heard it over and over again from, we talked to 40, 50 random people and the anecdotal subjective test was passed. Right. And I liken this, remember I was telling you the story about, The Big Short, right? Where it was kind of the opposite situation. Where in this movie, which was what preceded the 2008-2009 crash, these people were onto something and they went down. I think it was actually Florida, and they were talking to people, and the people were there were saying like, "Oh yeah, I just bought my third home. I just, they'd go talk to a stripper at the strip club. I just bought my third home," and in their minds they're like, "Oh my God, it's happening!" Right? They've lent out too much money. The market's about to crash. And they got the subjective data before it was objectively available. The rest of the world didn't see it because they were only focused on the statistics. Oh, not enough people are in default. The market's great. Everything's rosy. But they went and did the research, boots on the ground, and they saw something before the rest of the market. And what we did is like the same thing, only it's the opposite, where we were talking to people and it's like, oh man, we were in Tampa. We were in Miami. We were in a bidding war in Coral Springs, a small submarket. Remember that cop we talked to? We just had a bidding war on our house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think the market's going to slow down though. Remember he said that
all the time. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, they don't know what's coming.
Yeah. They're like a year behind. They're like a year behind where we are here. Where
maybe more than a year.
Yeah, maybe more.
Because psychologically, you have people in Windsor that still won't accept what's happening in Windsor. They don't understand migration. They don't understand that people from GTA and all over the country have money in deep pockets and they're coming here to buy. And they won't accept it. And the same thing's happening there where they don't understand real estate and the market. They don't understand that people from all over the world are coming to Florida as a hub.
Yeah.
And there's not enough houses across the US. The same holds true in Florida.
Yeah.
And that this trend might be 5 or 10 years in the making because that's how long it's been happening in Windsor even.
Yeah.
And a lot of major cities across Canada.
For sure.
So we think that we are very early here.
Yeah.
We're not at ground zero, but we're in the second inning of a 9-inning game.
For sure.
In our opinion.
Yeah. Like when we talk to these people, they're like, oh yeah, we had like, a couple bids on our house. There's a bidding war. And we're over here where we got like 40 bids on a house. So we're ahead of the curve going down there right now.
Yeah. And it was like,
it's all relative, right? Yeah. It's all relative. We're comparing that market to
That's a good point.
Right. So,
you said, hey, we didn't get a crazy deal. It was a good deal, but it's a crazy deal relative to what's available here.
Exactly, and that's the key.
This
deal is like fucking highway robbery compared to what you can get here.
If you were to take this and put it in Windsor, Ontario, it would probably be a 3 cap.
Yeah, it would be double. We're buying it for over a 6 cap, so it would be double. You would be buying this for double. So you'd be buying it for $20 million.
Yeah, which would mean your returns would be half.
Yeah, exactly.
Your ROI would be
so it's all relative, right? And somebody in the Florida market might not look at this and say, well, why would you buy that? It's not a steal. Well, you don't have to get a steal. What you have to do is you have to buy in the right locations and make sure that you're buying property that's going to appreciate because that's where you're going to earn the biggest amount of money.
Yeah, and sometimes things don't look like a steal until a year or two later.
Exactly.
And anybody that bought anything in Windsor, Ontario, or many other cities in Canada 4 years ago now looks like a steal. But I bet at the time it wasn't a steal for a lot of these places, right?
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, it was just like an average deal or it looked average.
A couple places I bought a couple years ago, I was like, fuck, like I don't even know if I want to buy this. It's not really that great of a deal, but I'm like, I'm going to hedge my bet and say that this is going to increase in value. I even bought, like, it came up the other day. I bought a house on Rankin.
Okay.
It was arguably not even, I overpaid for it. I got into something where they took like best and final offer kind of thing. And I was just like, fuck, throw 10 grand at it. Just get the fucking deal done. And it was over for sure. It was like the comparables, it was $10,000, $20,000 over. Now the fucker's worth $500,000.
Yeah.
So
in a couple of years. So at the time, right?
Doesn't really matter.
And what we're saying is now is like, this is a good deal now, but given the fundamentals of what's happening in Florida and across the US with the shortage of housing, this is going to look like a great deal in a couple of years. You got almost all the units are at least somewhat below market rent.
Oh, they are large.
$50 to $100 a unit. kind of minimum. We talk to the tenants in the building.
Yes,
Hey,
this is key too.
Yeah.
So when we were there, and the specific type of tenant that I like to talk about or like to talk to are, if you can find it, like older women or younger women. And the reason why I like to do that is I'm not trying to marginalize women or whatever, but if they feel comfortable walking in that area at night, walking home from work, if they have young kids, they're a single mother, that's when you know you have something.
Yeah, they feel safe.
They feel safe. You want to make sure that your tenants feel safe around that particular property, and they all did. We didn't talk to one person there that even had anything bad to say about the property. So, you know, we spoke to older couples. Remember the couple of units that we went into, there was an older couple and they loved the area. And that particular older couple, he worked in Miami, right?
Yep.
So he worked in Miami, and he drove into Miami.
Yeah. Now here's why you can't afford to rent anything in Miami.
That's exactly what he's talking about. And
it'd be $2,000 a month.
Exactly. So that's why what we're seeing is as Miami's exploding, North Miami is not far from North Miami Beach is not far from Miami. It's only like literally with no traffic, it's like fucking 10, 15 minutes. So it's the same road, even at the ocean side, all the way up. It's the same, it's literally the same property. It's just, all it is a different area code, right? Yeah. So it's almost like, you know, if you're in Windsor, not even if you're Miami, North Miami Beach would be like comparing Toronto to not even Mississauga.
No,
it's not like Mississauga's too far.
Probably still in Toronto.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So it's nothing for that Miami, you know, the city of Miami to continue to expand and move up.
Big time.
Or the tenant base like continue to move up, and that's what I'm hedging the bet on.
Yeah,
I know it's happening. We obviously talk to people that work in Miami that live in this particular property and they commute. My
personal opinion is that Miami is going to be the next Silicon Valley, and if you have any doubts about that, hop on our group. Canadians investing in U.S. real estate. Just check out the articles we posted. This tech company's moved. This Bitcoin company's setting up shop. Mayor Suarez attracts this company, Microsoft. Microsoft.
I know. The most left-leaning fucking company ever. Right? Is, you know, arguably ever. I don't really know where they lean, but they're going to the most, you know, Republican state.
Yeah, no state taxes. People probably want to live there. It's close to the ocean. Real estate's probably cheaper than a lot of these other, and they have the tech talent
when it comes down to companies, when it comes down to, you know, politics affecting, you know, a company's bottom line, you will see the hypocrisy.
100%.
And
it's inevitable.
Whenever exactly. It's inevitable. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, right?
Yeah. So we've seen what happened to California real estate over the past, 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, driven by Silicon Valley and high paying tech jobs, and the wealthiest, most powerful companies in the world all are headquartered in California. What do you think is going to happen to real estate values?
Yeah,
right? Like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Rents are going to go up. Prices are going to go up. And we are in, the second inning here.
Yeah, and
like I said,
Florida's like predominantly like affordable.
Relatively.
It's relatively affordable.
It's probably one of the most affordable states.
Exactly. So
a huge land mass.
Yeah.
Tons of cities that are populous. And, you know, this is a new trend, right? So it just hasn't caught up. Just like Windsor.
Yeah.
It's like the Windsor of the U.S. or something like that. You know,
you can say that.
Yeah. Only it's on the Atlantic Ocean, and there's a lot more money there. A lot, you know, major universities all across the state. Like, you know, it's a different level, of course.
I think. Did you say that?
Well, no, because
weather-wise, like technically weather-wise, and the reason why I say weather-wise is because we are the most southern part of Canada.
That's true.
So we do have the most favorable weather in the country.
And you know what?
But our weather is still, you can't compare.
And they kind of have a
weather.
negative stigma for some reason. Like Florida has a negative stigma, I find, in the media. Yeah. Just like kind of like Windsor does, or just in people's minds.
Does Windsor? I don't watch the news anymore.
Just in people's minds, I find, Windsor's like, it's an automotive town, or it's kind of a blue collar,
very
it's broke, or like the armpit of Canada.
Okay,
you know, just kind of like that mentality.
Yeah.
And people are just stuck on that mentality, right? And they will just refuse to catch up with the times.
Stuck on it more, please.
Yeah, more for us. So let's talk about the weather too. How about how big of a draw?
Yeah.
And I love this analogy. One of your colleagues said it, Dan, which is globally, Windsor and many other Canadian cities most of them actually are globally a D location. Okay.
You might have like, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto.
Yeah, even Toronto, like it's not on the ocean.
Yeah.
Right? It's on one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the weather.
Yeah.
It's really, what is it? It's pretty far north. You got 6 months of winter. Like, what's really that great about it globally?
Yeah.
They're only globally a great city because they're just a great city, right? It's populous. It has all the amenities.
Yeah.
But geolocation wise, it's not a top tier location.
No.
Globally, Florida's got to be, in the top 10, 20.
Like Miami area.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the ports, you've got the weather, you're close to the equator.
You've got crazy job growth. You've got crazy even job base. Like you have massive economic fundamental drivers.
Yes.
Like massive. Like that. Yeah. That's one of the things that I actually like about US real estate versus Canadian real estate.
Big time.
Especially in our location, not necessarily Toronto, because I to some extent I do believe like Toronto does have like economic fundamental drivers, right? Because it's Toronto, like for what you just said, it's a metropolis. It's like one of the biggest. Toronto's like one of the biggest cities.
Yeah, you got all the banks headquartered there. Right? You got all the tech companies.
Yeah. So, but that's far and few between. We don't have a lot of that.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
So for here, we lack the fundamentals of an economy. Like we truly do lack the fundamentals of an economy. If somebody were to say right off the bat, they were to come to Canada or come to this city, like say an economist were to come to Windsor and we were to say, hey, our real estate market grew 43% year over year last year. And they didn't know anything else. And all they saw was what's going on.
Ford and Chrysler, a couple small companies,
and that was it. And and at best, like they're struggling, especially with all these shortages and all. Like you know what I'm saying? So they would say, well, how the fuck that happened, right? Of course, there's other things at play, immigration, things like that. Obviously, that is an economic driver. I'm not going to argue that. When you have a slew of people coming into a city. Regardless if they're bringing wealth or not bringing wealth, those people still need services and products. So it will drive the market.
A potent mix of immigration and no supply.
Exactly.
A potent mix.
Exactly. So that to me is not long-term strong fundamentals. That's what I don't like. It could be long-term strong fundamentals. I don't know. But when I look at other cities that have like, when you got Microsoft going, when you got like Oracle, when you've got, who knows what else? I don't even remember. Like I can't even remember all these fucking companies going.
There's a lot of startups, a lot of Bitcoin stuff. Yeah, like
a crazy amount of tech, a crazy amount of infrastructure being built there, a crazy amount of everything going on in there. Not only that stuff, now you still have national migration. You have immigration. You have everything that we have here above and beyond what we have here.
Yes, because we got to remember, states have a lot of power over there, but still federally, the federal government's going to open up the immigration borders in the U.S. In my opinion. Yeah,
it's like a floodgate right
and
now.
Where are those people going to go? Yeah. They're going to go to an affordable, warm climate. Yeah. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would be, so federally, those factors are still in play, and also just the same factors that are limiting supply in Canada, which are material shortages all across the globe, shipping delays, rising fuel costs because of their stupid policies on carbon and all that stuff that are rising the cost of everything. You're faced with the same limiting supply factors over there, so you're almost getting the whole package. We have a couple things, right? Immigration and low supply. They have immigration, low supply, and macroeconomic major economical drivers, big money. So it's almost like jet fuel potential over there.
Yeah, you have an A location. You have an A location on the global map, on a world map. So with that said, you have the eyes of the world. Mm-hmm. You don't have the eyes of like Southern Ontario, right? You have the eyes of the world on you, right? So it's just different, man. You got you have people from all over the world looking to be there, looking to invest in there.
Yeah, be there and invest too. That's a good point. A lot of investment money is. You think we're the only ones thinking this?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of millions of people. Yeah. Not just, I'm talking global money too.
Yeah,
I'm talking Chinese money, money from all around the world is going to be looking to park their money in Florida. They're one of the only open areas in the world. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a global shutdown, and states like this are the only ones still running at almost full capacity. Yeah. Look, when we were down there, how many masks did we see? Yeah. How many people told us to put a mask on when we went in a store?
Yeah, none.
Here, zero.
Yeah,
zero.
Like literally zero.
Nobody. It's a different world, right? And people. It's
like it was when it was.
It was normal. I actually forgot about it.
Yeah.
I remember we were driving around, like, oh yeah, it's a pandemic. I forgot.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: we didn't see a bunch of dead bodies strewn about the ground either,
even
right?
Even when we were, driving by hospitals or seeing that kind of stuff. I remember we even talked to a couple of people that were involved in the healthcare system, and they were like, "Yeah, don't believe the news. Like, it's not. They ain't telling the right stories."
Yeah, I don't trust the news. They're obviously when a state goes against the national mandate, they're going to use the media to attack them. And that's out in full force right now.
Oh yeah.
Just pull up an article, right? Like it's all over the place. So same thing's happening in Canada.
Yeah.
Anyways, don't trust the news. That's why we wanted to go down and verify our, objective data, right? Yeah. With the subjective analysis. And I'm telling you, it was verified times 10. It was actually more potent than I thought it was. Yeah. I actually left Florida thinking, wow, we got to get going now.
So this was interesting too. This was one of the first times I've ever actually put boots on the ground, gone down to a property, or actually physically gone to a property that I saw prior to, again, I underwrote this deal prior to actually going down there. When I went down there, this was one of the first times that I've actually been to a property that my notion was I was pleasantly surprised after the fact of seeing it rather than physically going there and being a little bit kind of disappointed.
Yeah, even in Windsor,
100%.
80% of the time, I'm like,
I don't remember the last time I've actually gone to a property that I had better feelings about after I physically went there than looking at it online first.
100%.
Yeah. I've almost never had that. And one of the reasons why is number one, definitely number one, was the location. I did not actually realize how good of a location it was for someone to live.
Until you get down there and see and feel it, right? You're backing on $1 million homes.
Like it literally
10 to 15 minutes from the major.
I could throw a rock and hit a $6 million mansion on the water. Yeah. Like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. I could walk to Whole Foods, Starbucks. I could go to LA Fitness. Like, those fucking retailers, they don't set up shop unless they know what they're doing.
They know what's up.
Yeah, they know what's up. And then there's a 5-minute drive to Bal Harbour Beach. On the beach there, on that beach, you have Gucci, Chanel, like. What the fuck is going on there?
And we're buying stuff in Windsor that's a 5-minute drive to Sandpoint Beach.
Exactly.
Right? At half the cap rate.
Exactly.
At a 3 cap.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
It really is. It really is. So
you
it
have
really
to go down there and you have to look at it subjectively. You have to talk to the people locally. You have to talk to the tenants. You have to talk to the managers. That's another thing that we did. Talk to the actual manager of the property.
Yeah. Impressed as well with that.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to the property manager or the portfolio or the property itself. You got to get the lay of the land.
Yeah, I'm telling people, whether or not you're interested in this deal or whatever, the ability to subjectively analyze something that isn't available in a hard data point is a skill that most people lack, especially investors. They think everything can be learned in a YouTube video and a book. No, you need to see things that the rest of the people don't see, because that's how you get ahead of the market, right? People are going to jump on Florida 2 or 3 years from now when the cap rates are half.
This is how I started my portfolio, was gut, like with my gut. I bought property based off gut.
I think it's more important than you have to know numbers, right? And obviously you're really good at that. I saw the way you crunch the numbers here. I trust you on that stuff. But I just think that the subjective, because you can learn to run numbers. Anybody can learn that. You can't learn to be a good investor without getting out there and doing it, getting hammered, winning and losing over years and years and years, and then learning the game and then getting good at it.
When I started all this, when it was like 2008, I had to have gut. I had to have a strong gut, because if I didn't, whatever I was doing, I was going to get crushed.
Yeah.
So I had strong gut feelings from when I invested in certain things. I was like, okay, listen, this is where it's at now. It can't get any, I had a good.
What's interesting? That is true, because people don't realize this, but most people want to buy when things are going up.
Yeah.
And they don't want to buy when things are going up. You saw it with Bitcoin, right? When it crashed to 30 grand, whatever, a few months ago, everybody all of a sudden, nobody wanted Bitcoin anymore because it's going down. But in like an investor's mind, it's like, oh my God, it's 50% cheaper. And the true investors are like, okay, like I believe in the long-term fundamentals. I'm going to buy now. But the average or worse investor gets scared and they don't buy. So the ability to buy in that market is an underrated quality that most investors think, oh yeah, I would have bought in that market. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah,
you didn't
scared.
then. You wouldn't now. When the crash comes, when the inevitable crash comes, you will remain on the sidelines.
I talk to a lot of people that have money that say all kinds of shit like that. And when I did that back then, I didn't have them. I barely had the money. So I scrounged, I sold my fucking car. I scrounged up all kinds of money to be able to do that shit.
Yeah, but 80% of the people will say you got lucky.
Yeah.
They would have done the same thing. I get
that a lot.
Oh yeah.
I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. I would have done it for sure. No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have.
And here's another one. Well, if I had the money, I would have done it. Well, you get the money.
Yeah.
Right. You find a way.
Yeah.
Right. People even now, right? Like, oh, I just don't have the money to invest. Oh, I just don't have. Well, because you didn't set your life up properly.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't,
because you got a fucking $2,000 car payment.
Yeah. So you would have had the same problem in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12 as you have now, which is you didn't set yourself up properly to invest. You don't understand money to begin with.
Yeah.
So we're going to have the same conversation until you die.
Yeah.
And you're going to remain in the middle class. Like, I don't know what else to say, but everybody thinks that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's huge. We got to wrap up a bit here, but I think the point is we're not saying that we wouldn't invest in any other state.
Yeah.
Like all we're doing is saying what we saw in Florida. There's 52 states in the U.S. I would invest in any of them if the numbers are right.
There's arguably even there's other fundamental drivers of other states that would probably arguably produce the same amount of return.
They might not be the same drivers.
It wouldn't be the same. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to see the same. Hey, we got to go to Florida because. Like from in the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about there's going to be certain things that we've seen here. The reason why our market here has appreciated so strong is because shit's been locked down for so long. Mm-hmm. Like there's going to be certain drivers like that throughout the U.S. I wouldn't go to like, Manhattan right now or fucking L.A. or whatever. Like those places seem to be, those are too risky for me right now. But I mean,
I agree. I'm sure there's certain sub-markets in California. 100%, every state 100%, has markets that I would invest in.
Yes. And even what we're seeing in the Inland Empire in California, that's one of the fastest growing markets right now because a lot of people are moving out of LA County and moving into the Inland Empire in California.
It's a bit of a retirement community as well. You have an aging population.
Exactly.
There are different.
Yeah.
So I never try to apply a blanket strategy to a market.
Yeah. We are specifically talking about Florida and specifically the Miami-Dade County right now, because that is what we're comparing on this podcast and how we actually underwrote that deal objectively and subjectively.
Mm-hmm. And maybe next time we'll hear about the Canton deal that you did, right? We'll get your analysis of how you came to that.
Yeah.
What are the statistics?
Exactly.
Totally different game, right? That's a northern state.
That's a Michigan. It was a Michigan property, senior community. Yeah. There was very specific reasons why I ended up wanting that.
And they're going to be totally different than Florida.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they're still good.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually almost think that the Canton deal that I did in the US is arguably more interesting than the North Miami Beach property.
Awesome. We'll pick your brain.
Because there's a couple things that I noticed when I was in that property and underwriting that deal that I don't think people would have actually recognized.
Love it. We'll pick your brain on that next time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Trigger.